Robin Aitken. Robin, I don't trust the BBC today. It seems like they'll make up new rules for Gary Lineker as and when it suits them, probably because Gary Lineker seems to have voiced the opinions the executives themselves would quite like to say.
That may be so, Alex, but you know that excuse they've given, the fact that he can be exonerated because he did this in an open letter, that looks rather like Mr. Loophole at work, doesn't it? It's a bit legalistic. I mean, the point is that from the point of view of anyone who's not reading the fine print, it seems as if Gary Lineker has again come out very openly and taken sides in a contentious debate. And the problem about this for the BBC, well, it's twofold, but one is it makes the management look very weak. Unless they're now going to discipline him in some way, it looks as if someone like Lineker, who's a big star with a big salary and a big public profile, can just get away with whatever he wants, breaking the rules willy-nilly, and the BBC is helpless to prevent that. And that's not a good look for an organisation which is badly in need of political friends.
I think also it's badly in need, Robin, of some decent media advice. I mean, what they're saying here is you can do one thing as long as you write it on the piece of paper. But if you transfer exactly the same message to social media, to the world of digital, you can't do that. As you say, that is just loophole city. It's ridiculous. And it makes the BBC look ridiculous. And I guess we'd need a psychiatrist to ask why Gary Lineker keeps doing this. He didn't have to sign this letter, but every time he does it, he professes to love the BBC, to revere the state broadcaster, etc., etc. And yet every time he does this sort of thing, he materially damages the BBC. Doesn't he know that?
Exactly, Kevin. I mean, you know, this is what I don't understand about Lineker. I mean, either he is too caught up with his own self-righteousness to understand the position the BBC is in. I mean, in which case he's not as intelligent as I take him to be, or he doesn't care about the damage he's doing. And the reason he's doing damage is this: that the BBC is in a slightly precarious position just at the moment. We still have a Tory government. Many Tories are thoroughly fed up with the BBC. It doesn't have, as an organisation, many friends on the right of politics. We've got this midterm review coming up. The licence fee is under review. Every time this sort of thing happens, where a high-profile BBC star takes issue with government policy, it reinforces the understanding that the BBC is on the other side from the Tories. And that's not a good place for an organisation like the BBC to be, particularly at this moment. Now, I suspect that there are a lot of people in the higher echelons of the BBC who are looking forward to next year and thinking, well, all we have to do is weather the storm this year. These nasty Tories will be gone in 15 months or whenever, and then we'll have a Labour government and things will get easier. And, you know, that might not be a bad bet, but there's still the possibility the BBC, this midterm review, which may cast doubt on the long-term future of the licence fee, that could be very damaging for the BBC and would fundamentally change the nature of the organisation. People like Lineker are no friends to the BBC. They're doing it damage.
Well, what I don't understand, I totally agree with you, is why they don't just bin him. I don't think it's suddenly going to see a load of people not watching Match of the Day. In fact, when he was suspended and wasn't on it, it didn't harm the programme at all. No.
Well, you know, there you have me there, Alex. I mean, look, to be fair to Lineker, I don't watch a lot of football, I must be honest, but I do watch, World Cups and so on. What I'd say about Lineker is this: that he's smarter than a lot of the pundits that you see talking about football. He's got a ready wit. What he seems to lack, particularly in this context, is any sort of political understanding, a deeper political understanding of what he should be doing if he genuinely loves the BBC. if he genuinely wants to be a friend of the BBC, he should pipe down double quick and keep a low profile. Instead of which, he's continuously in the headlines. It's the same headline every time, that he's taking issue with government policy, and he's making the Director General of the BBC, Tim Davie, look wretchedly weak. Now, how does that help the BBC? I don't get it.
Well, Gary was a great goal scorer. A lot of people have said he was a goal hanger, but he scored a lot of goals. He's also a terrific virtue signaller, and that, I think, is what this is all about. Look at me, aren't I wonderful? I care for people. He's currently, Robin, squabbling on Twitter, or X, or whatever we're calling it today, with a number of Tories, particularly the Tory MP Jonathan Gullis, who in this discourse has accused the Director General, Tim Davie, of being spineless with regard to Gary Lineker. Is Mr. Gullis right?
Well, look, in the unlikely event that Tim Davie gets on the phone and asks for my advice, but were he to do so, I would say that it would be, he'd be doing both himself and the BBC some good if he took some strong action against Lineker now. I don't say he should sack him, but maybe a suspension for 3 months or 6 months, whatever. Something which looks as if the guy has given a yellow card. You know, that Lineker should be shown a yellow card. He should be in the sin bin for a bit, because, as I say, this is doing the BBC no good. It simply makes the BBC look helpless in the face of big stars, and that's a bit pathetic, really, for an organisation which is fighting for its life in many ways.
I mean, from pathetic to potential scandal, another problem coming over the horizon for the BBC could well be this order by a judge, Judge Brian Kennedy Casey, who's ordered BBC bosses to immediately disclose large numbers of messages and emails, which essentially have been kept secret. It's a cache of 3,200 emails kept secret legally at the cost of £100,000 of licence fee payers' money, and they all relate to Martin Bashir's interview of Princess Diana. Some of the schemes he was using, the faked bank statements, the rumours, the lies he told Diana essentially to sit down and pour out her heart to him. And the BBC are very much keeping this a secret. If they have to release those emails, that's not going to be a good look, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. And just before we go on, Alex, I'd like to pay tribute to Andy Webb, the reporter who's reactivated this story, because you know, it was Andy's hard work which brought attention back onto this. I think in many ways it's the worst journalistic scandal that the BBC's ever been involved in. Just to refresh memories, I mean, what happened was that Bashir got a graphics artist to fake up some bank statements, which made it look as if people close to Diana, her security detail and also her PR men, had been in cahoots with newspapers which had leaked damaging information about Diana. And Bashir then presented those to Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, and he was then helpful in opening the door to Bashir to get the interview with Diana. Now, to me, look, we know, you know, journalism's a competitive game, and sometimes people sail close to the wind. This is way, way over that. Yeah. What's more, this action by Bashir must have been known to people up the executive chain in the BBC. Certainly the editor of Panorama, which was the programme handling the interview, a guy called Steve Hewlett, now sadly dead.
Yeah, I knew Steve.
He must have been fully in knowledge of all the facts about this. There's been a cover-up. It's an absolute disgrace.
I'll tell you what this is, Robin. This is a classic Watergate situation. The crime was bad enough, but the cover-up was worse. Great to speak to you. That's Robin Aitken.